Good afternoon and welcome to the Tulsa City Council Public Works Committee meeting. I'm Lori Dr. Wright, District 7 City Councilor, calling this meeting to order. Item number 2 is Whitney Sapola, appointment to the Human Rights Commission, replacing Josiah Robinson. Term expires June 1st, 2028. Ms. Sapola, come on down.
Is there a place you would like to
It's not in Councilor Lakin's spot.
But that would be funny if you did.
Oh, yeah, please.
You can come right here next to Councilor Bush.
He does get finicky.
Thank
I
you.
know, but that was gonna be fun to see.
Yes. Welcome to our table.
Thank you.
It's good to see you in this capacity. A lot of us know you, but for everyone who's watching at home or in the room, tell us about yourself and why now is a good time for you to step onto the Human Rights Commission.
Sure. So I'm Whitney Sapola. Thank you so much for having me at your meeting today. So I'm a lifelong Tulsan, have only ever lived here. Graduated from Union High School, then went to the University of Tulsa. I then went into teaching. So I did Teach for America and taught 6th grade English language arts. My first year of teaching was when the teacher walkout happened, so that was very formative and inspired me to get a master's in public administration, to study nonprofit management and public policy. From then, I worked for about 5 years in mental health policy with Mental Health Association Oklahoma, as well as Healthy Minds Policy Initiative. And now I'm currently back in the ed space. I work as a recruiter for Teach for America here in Tulsa. And when I am not doing the job I get paid to do, my other jobs include I am the board president of Oklahomans for Equality. I chair the City of Tulsa's 2S LGBTQIA+ committee authorized under the Human Rights Commission. And I have served as the chair of Tulsa Young Professionals under the Tulsa Regional Chamber. So now's the right time. I've had a wonderful time working with Josiah and Councilor Bellis on this Human Rights Commission ordinance that's coming up for a vote again on September 10th. And I just have a passion for making Tulsa the best place it can be for all.
Well, I don't know if people have questions after that. That was very thorough, and I'm thrilled that you can make time in your busy schedule to consider this appointment. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
I just want to comment on
Me too.
how outstanding your qualifications. We
Thank
are so
you.
fortunate to have you in this capacity.
Well, thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you on the ordinance as well.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we will confirm your appointment on the 20th at 5 o'clock downstairs. You know where that is. We've seen you there before. You are welcome to come for that. And, upon the confirmation, we usually ask the new commissioners to step forward. So you'll be welcome to make comment then if you'd like. And you are not required to stay for the rest of this meeting, although it's quite packed and maybe worth staying for. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you, Whitney.
Without objection, we're going to move item 3 after item 9 as Ms. Miller is downstairs with the TMAPC right now. So that moves us to item 4, ordinance amending the fiscal year 2025-26 budget to transfer available appropriations of $4,026,700 between departments, projects, and account groups within the Walmart opioid settlement subfund. This is for opioid housing assistance and emergency shelter. And should I read the other one too, so we can have a comprehensive conversation? Item number 5, ordinance amending the fiscal year 2025-26 budget to transfer available appropriations of $41,000 between departments and account groups within the Pandemic Relief Recovery Fund for housing assistance, emergency shelter, and Sister City Fountain. Jared.
Afternoon, Council. Jared Moore from Budget. I'll do the meat and potatoes portion. That this is just the first one, moving the $4.026 million is within the opioid settlement fund, the Walmart settlement, and it is simply moving from one project to another one that is essentially the same, just a broader scope, so that the services that are expended to match up what was agreed to with the project. The second one is within the Pandemic Relief Recovery Fund, and we just cleared out a lot of balances in completed projects and shifted it over towards this mirrored housing project, project that you'll see in the first budget action. And the details of what those services will entail, I'll pitch to Ms. Hall.
Can I ask just a quick question about the Sister City Fountain, how that got stuffed into this
Oh,
Thank-
sorry, yes, no, thank
It
you.
is a weird.
Sorry, that was just a
That's the
convenient
outlier.
budget action.
You don't want to talk about the
No, you
fountain?
don't. That is, I don't know, I think the council's aware, there is a fountain that was given to the city by one of our sister organizations, sister city organizations, and this will pay for the installation of it. And I do apologize, I forget where we are installing it. Looking to-
I can,
Counselor Gilbert?
yeah. So this is the fountain that San Luis Port Sea gave to the city several years ago, and it has been sitting in a storage shed out at the Botanical Garden for years. So as we work with our sister cities, we encourage, to exchange gifts. This gift, it is huge. So it's been sitting there for years and has not been put together. And with all the visitors that have been coming in, it's kind of embarrassing not to be able to showcase it.
So it'll be installed at the Botanic Garden?
Yes.
Okay, and it was already accepted by a former council?
Yes.
So, thanks for explaining that one. The rest of them make sense, being grouped together. I did want to acknowledge that we have Attorney Caroline Wolf with us today from City Legal, in case anyone was wondering. That's not Jack Blair.
It's not
he's
Jack.
out.
I'm not
Jack. And we have Emily Hall, the Mayor's Senior Advisor on Homelessness, with us to talk about item 4 and 5.
Great, thank you, Counselor. I do have there is a deck, so just gonna go through this. Just want to ground our conversation today in some terminology that we'll be discussing. And you can read that, but decommissioning is the coordinated permanent closure and clearing of an area in collaboration with partner providers that connects individuals in encampments and on the street to shelter services and or housing. I do want to call, I'm not going to go through and read all these, but I just want to call out a couple specific words. I will use the word and you will see people. People means individuals and families. You will also see supportive housing, or we'll talk about supportive housing. That is providing access to safe and stable housing to support individuals who are in had some sort of substance abuse issue, and as they begin their path to sustain a long-term recovery. As well as a key piece of what we're going to talk about is an individualized needs plan. This is really support services that are tailored to the specific individual or family. And in what we'll be talking about, we'll be utilizing a way home for Tulsa partners and other necessary service providers. So,
Just the arrow.
So decommissioning has been a topic of conversation and multiple recommendations over the course of the last couple years. This has included the 3H task force, Path to Home, our most recent mayor council retreat, and the mayor's priority to reaching functional zero homelessness by 2030. And as we discussed today, the reallocation of opioid dollars to use along with pandemic recovery fund dollars and ARPA dollars, we're going to discuss launching a rehousing and decommissioning strategy through an initiative called Safe Move Tulsa. And as we talk about through this conversation, our 2025 point in time count showed an increase in homelessness in Tulsa. The city has available funds to move quickly in addressing this. We can make immediate difference by beginning to rehouse some of our unhoused and sheltered community members. So I do want to point out, however, even with a shift in use of these opioid dollars from the residential care center to Safe Move Tulsa initiative, the residential care center or property will still play a very important role in all of this work. It can remain permanent housing at a deeply affordable rate that meets a need across our community. And that's, again, 59 units that will be available for housing. So, Safe Move Tulsa consists of components, core components that provide supportive housing, that connects people to supportive services tailored to the individual or family needs. This includes jobs, financial resources. It secures housing as quickly as possible. These individualized needs plans can include also financial literacy, healthcare, transportation, mental health, substance abuse services, along with housing assistance, support from family and friends, and education support, just to name a few. Again, the key piece is that these are individualized plans based on the need of the individual and family. And what this shows is what this would look like. An individual or family is identified through service providers within our continuum of care, Away Home for Tulsa. An individual needs plan is created, housing is identified. As they move through this process, there's benchmarks in place, and the goal is within a 12-month period of time, they are able to maintain rent. Now, knowing that maybe some wraparound support services continue after that, but within a 12-month period of time, they're able to maintain rent. So who might this program serve? These are just a couple examples. John is a 52-year-old man who spends his nights in a shelter. He works a minimum wage job during the day. He cannot afford rent plus medical bills. He's recovering from an opioid disorder. What he needs is housing assistance for a short period of time, financial literacy support, healthcare access, transportation access, ongoing recovery services, and mental health access. Leah is a 41-year-old woman. She's just fallen into homelessness. The shelters are full at capacity, so the last resort is sleeping on the street. She left an unsafe home life, and she's currently unemployed. So she needs housing assistance for 12 months. Job and career navigation, mental health services, healthcare access, transportation access. The key with Leah is she's just fallen into homelessness, and so with this program, we can have the ability to catch her before she stays in that unsheltered spot for much longer. The third profile is a family, and the father has been laid off. The mother works. They are currently in a hotel, and they're in need of permanent housing and some housing assistance, childcare, some job and career navigation, mental health services, financial literacy services. And I do want to highlight that in each of these profiles, they're all going to be assessed for what are their at-risk conditions, current and future. The longer they're staying in the positions that they're in, their risk for increased, they are at an increased risk for additional needs and supports. So, rehousing initiatives like Safe Move Tulsa are based off national best practices. They're connecting individuals and families experiencing homelessness to supportive housing through individualized needs plans, and with a focus on long-term stability and preventing returns to homelessness. This is a $6 million investment, again, reallocating what we're currently talking about, opioid dollars, along with the Pandemic Relief Recovery Fund dollars and ARPA dollars to rehouse approximately 300 people, which includes both individuals and families. This walks us through our current situation. We have 1,449 Tulsans who were considered homeless in the January 2025 point in time count. Our shelters, so just to break that down even further, we have 953 in shelters, we have 469 who are unsheltered. There is congestion in our shelters. Our shelters are at 100% capacity, which means if someone has no other place to go, they are falling into street homelessness. That creates congestion on the street. Financial resources are limited for rehousing right now. There's fewer vouchers that are available, and with fewer dollars available as well. It is making rehousing and creating movement out of shelters and off the street a challenge. So the goal of Safe Move Tulsa is to house 100 to 150 unsheltered individuals and families through rehousing, and to house 150 and 200 sheltered individuals and families through rehousing. So by moving folks out of the shelter into housing, we begin to unlock shelter space and are then able to begin decommissioning areas across our city and have a stronger focus on providing supports for our most chronic homeless individuals and getting them out of encampments and off our streets and into shelters or other sort of identified location that might be best for them, and then on a pathway to permanent housing. So I just want to finish with, we have several of our service providers, members of Away Home for Tulsa in the room, and they are doing this work that we're talking about now. But what we have the ability to do is to only make their work much more impactful and to quickly house more folks. I'm going to pass around, this is a letter from some of our service providers. So I will just pass that around. Again, just to reiterate, this budget amendment, along with other funds, creates an immediate $6 million investment that we can start very soon to get people off the street, out of a shelter, and into housing.
Do we have any extras of these to end it here?
Oh, it did?
We'll share. It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You can cheat off the questions.
Are you ready for council discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna make some more copies of that. So, thank you for the presentation. Just full disclosure, Counselor Lakin, Gilbert, Bellis, and I received this presentation last week in our working group, so I'm sure we have more questions, but I also want to acknowledge that we have colleagues who are seeing this for the first time. So, are there any questions or comments from those of you that didn't get a chance last week? Counselor Dutton.
So I'm wondering about the infrastructure aspect of it. Are there specific designated infrastructure already in place, and where would that be located as to how we're going to be able to house the number of people, the 300? And then would the priority be for those in the shelters first, and what would the criteria be for that? Would they, first, the priorities be families, working families, and then would it shift to females? I'm just wondering what that looks like going forward. And I know that we had mentioned people with vehicles. People with vehicles, I mean, do they even have the capacity to pay the insurance and have their tags? I'm just trying to think of all the aspects that people that are unsheltered would face that may be living out of, let's say, the day center or Salvation Army.
So, if I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
question one, but
Yeah,
if I
thank you.
forget as we go along, just
Okay.
remind me. So the infrastructure, what we're looking at are scattered available sites. These are just apartment units across our city. And we do know that we have enough units available to meet this goal. It's not building infrastructure, there's no component like that. It is scattered sites that are available, and our partners from Away Home for Tulsa, Housing Solutions, works closely with keeping and identifying those locations.
Would those be parsed out through the city?
Those sites are all
And-
across, they're scattered, so it could mean maybe there's 2 or 3 in one location at a department, maybe one or two in another location, they're scattered.
And what's the order?
The-
Shelters
oh.
first.
There'll be a little bit of both occurring at the same time. I think that we'll be working with Housing Solutions and partners to determine what that looks like. We do know that in order to begin decommissioning, moving folks off the street, we have to clear shelter space, but some of that can go simultaneously. The transportation, were you referring to where it says needs transportation services?
No, people with vehicles that may be living out of their
Sure.
vehicles that are not in a shelter specifically, or people that, the example was the woman that had a vehicle, her husband was laid off. How does that, I guess I'm concerned about how that looks and being able to maintain that vehicle outside of the housing situation. Is there a partnership or any kind of process to go forward to help people that actually do have
Sure.
vehicles so they can keep that, so that they can continue to work?
If it's okay, Mark, do you have are there partners that work currently?
Yeah, sure.
Will you come to the table?
Yes, happy to come up. And maybe Beth, is it okay if Beth Svetlik,
Yeah.
Chair of Royal Fertility, joins me?
Sure.
Plenty of room at the table.
Just,
Yeah.
will you do like official introductions?
Yes,
Just-
I'm Mark Smith, I'm the CEO at Housing Solutions, we're the lead agency for Royal Fertility.
I'm Beth Edwards Svetlik, the Assistant Executive Director with Youth Services of Tulsa, but the current chair of Away Home for Tulsa Leadership Council.
Thank you.
So, and I think Beth, as someone who's been a practitioner for a lot longer than me, can talk a little bit more, but this is about the individual plan for each person. So having the ability to address whatever their individual needs. So a person who has a vehicle, part of the challenge in order to get back into housing may be they may need to have some small repair, or it may be that they just can't afford the first month's rent and security deposit to move back into housing, but their vehicle is functioning, they're still getting to work. So part of what partner providers will do, will work with the individuals who we've identified with short-term assistance can be sustainable. And we already have an active list of about 1,200 people that are waiting for short-term assistance to housing. And then the individual caseworker will build that plan and what supports are needed to help them. So that can be identifying a unit. For some folks, it may be, repairing a relationship, roommates, family members. That's the most sustainable option for them long-term as opposed to moving in a unit. But it's going to be individualized, it's going to be client-driven, and it's going to be all options on the table. So.
And I think you've identified a need that comes up frequently, is a gap in being able to, if you have a car that's really awesome and helpful in the city of Tulsa, but helping to pay for things like repairs or something on that car can be challenging. So there are service providers, partners within Away Home for Tulsa that do have some car repair services. Catholic Charities is one of those partners. But then also, typically what we will build in as far as, some flexible funds to help fill those gaps that, maybe aren't typical or, are creating a barrier for those families to be sustainable and live in that permanent housing. One of the challenges with some other funds is there's limitations on what those flexibilities could be. I would say probably an opportunity with this might be to build in some of those things that are gaps in other funding sources. Obviously it can be unlimited, but sometimes, building in a max of $200 that could go towards car repairs or bus passes or, some other transportation need. I know for us at Youth Services of Tulsa, a lot of times that looks like purchasing a bicycle that helps get a young person back and forth to work or something like that. So I think that's how we would ideally do that. And the beauty of kind of, developing a program like this with some city dollars is maybe being able to really build in some flexibilities to individualize that to each person.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so I'm concerned, I guess, the insurance aspect of it, because you can't get your tags without insurance. And so
Sure.
I think that's a huge hindrance when you're trying to go forward. And at minimum wage, 25 an hour, they're gonna have to work 3 weeks to to afford a premium. And so I think that aspect needs to be baked in to that assistance so that they can maintain the tag, maintain their insurance,
Mhm.
and still be contributing members
Sure.
in the community.
I think what this is focusing on, you know, like if we can take care of, hey, we're gonna help supplement rent, we're gonna get you in, and we're gonna take care of that piece, then they can use their income for things like, okay, then I can get ahead, you know, I can go ahead and pay that premium and get that going, because this part's taken care of. And then, you know, then I can get to work, and get a paycheck that's, you know, coming regularly and be able to kind of then sustain.
That's part of
all
what the
that.
Financial Literacy Empowerment Center does, is help people strategize how to
Balance their-
maximize their resources. I have Counselor Archie next.
Sure. Thank you for this.
Counselor Bellis, I'm gonna let the other ones go first, and then we'll
Thanks.
open it up to committee.
A few questions. One for Director Hall. You talked about the residential care center being kind of transitioning the mission from transitional housing to affordable housing now? Is that more of what?
Well, it's currently zoned for for housing in general, and the developer has to utilize it for deeply affordable units that fits and fills a need that we have across our city. So it provides housing resources. We are actually getting the ability to house people as well as utilize it for permanent housing now.
Right. So I'm just imagining that space in North Tulsa, people just living there, subsidized rent, but living there, they'll kind of be their forever home if they desire to be there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, they are individual units
Individual
within
units.
that facility,
Okay. And the six,
just like apartments, individual apartments within inside that facility.
so money's been taken away from that, potentially for this. How is that project going to be, like, what's the status of that project then? Like the timeline or anything like that?
Of the residential care center?
Uh-huh.
That project, as it has been identified as a transitional living center,
Yeah.
would not be a transitional living center anymore because dollars would be utilized for this. It would still be, the developer is still on a path to finish completion of the housing unit, and then it would become available for just regular permanent housing.
Okay, that's helpful. I was reading through some of the background. It says that, it says funds shall be used for, but are not limited to, moving costs, paying utilities, clearing arrears, which I'm assuming like maybe back rent, groceries and case management. It says not limited to. And maybe you talked about like car repairs, but like who in A Way Home for Tulsa gets the discretion as to decide how this money is used? Like remember last week we talked about, I think Councilor Gilbert was talking about who gets to make the decision. We talked about our animal services. Who in the organization gets to make the decision about, when money is spent or when discounts are given? Who gets to make that discretionary? Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll jump in and answer that. So that is part of what we would do through a contracting phase. We haven't gotten there yet. This is just step one in introducing this conversation. But the city would work with in the next step of whatever that looks like, but as those contracts are initiated.
Okay.
We have state statutes that put big bumper rails on what municipal dollars can go for, so.
And also,
There's not even a ton of discretion just in the administration, like, we still have to check against the state allowances for municipal dollars.
Oh, good. Well, no, it's good, because people will ask, it's a lot of money, so how do we use it to the best of our ability, maximize it, if it goes through. I am looking, this was uploaded last minute, so I did not have it in my document. So I'm looking, I feel like when it comes to the individuals that we identify in the shelters, we're giving them a runway. You come out of the shelter, we'll find you employment or give you services, and then subsidize you for 6 months or a year. And then the desire is, after that year, you can be self-sustaining, and you're out of sort of the orbit of these resources. Am I hearing that correctly? Okay.
Yes, what we're talking about is they're able to maintain rent on their own at month 12. Some individuals at month 3 may be able to maintain rent. We do know that some of those service providers will continue working with individuals after the 12 months. And I'm sure that you can speak to that. You may have some folks who see their, Family and Children's is here, see their mental health service provider for many years after they're self-sustainable. So that's part of that individualized plan into being able to maintain rent.
Okay.
There's a great amount of variability we see in these types of programs. For some folks, it's, I am working, is the example there, I have income, but, if average rent in Tulsa is about $1,000, most people need between $2,000 to $3,000 up front with first month's rent, security deposit, utilities. But that $2,500 is the only barrier for someone. For other folks, it's gonna be employment, mental health, substance abuse, getting kids enrolled in school. And so just having the ability to create that plan of what they need, but the goal will be that at 12 months, people will be sustainable on their own.
And that 12 months is tied to some pretty extensive evidence-based practice of like a good middle ground of when people can typically become sustainable on their own.
Right.
So.
Counselor Bush or Counselor Bangle, I wanted to put you guys at the front of the line if you have questions, otherwise.
I do.
Okay. Counselor Bangle.
Yeah, so, I'm not against the use of discretionary funding in these needs. One of the questions that I have is, are there any administrative costs associated to these funds? And what does that percentage look like?
Would that be like a
Yes.
contract with the overhead?
Yeah,
Right.
there is. Yeah, yes, there are. It's not on, so ARPA funds, and Reese can correct me, we held back a portion of those just for our ARPA, grants compliance on our end of this. But I think administration of the program, with our actual, contractors or subcontractors, that would be part of the contract negotiation, that Emily is talking about. That hasn't occurred yet, because the funds aren't appropriated yet.
Okay. So, you and I have had a discussion just casually that some folks are like one paycheck away from being unhoused. And some of this can be, I think since we've seen an uptick in our seniors, and I see nearly on a weekly basis where seniors are having trouble making utility payments. And then we've just bumped the utility rates. So my question is that even though this is focused specifically on the unhoused, are you also looking at potential of folks who may be in that scenario where they're one utility payment away from being unhoused?
Separately from this.
Because we don't want to trade
Right.
off getting one off the
Right.
street to put somebody else in that place.
Yes, separately from this, absolutely, it has to be a piece of the bigger picture. And I think that when we talk about functional zero homelessness, we know that there's always gonna be folks that fall into homelessness. But that means that it's rare, brief, and non-recurring, that those sort of diversions are in place, those resources are in place and ready to bring that person back out of homelessness or be able to catch them prior to going into homelessness. So that is a separate piece of all of this work,
Okay.
absolutely.
And then the folks that are in these two programs, the 6 and 12 month, is there continual case management to make sure they don't fall within that cycle again?
So just clarification, there's not two programs. Those were just examples of someone may only need 6 months of support, someone may need up to 12
Okay.
months of support. The goal is that the resource is available for up to 12 months if
okay.
needed. There is ongoing, part of the benchmark, part of that individualized plan is ongoing support to ensure that when they hit that 12-month, that they're able to maintain. But past that, many folks stay with case management. Can you, Mark, speak to that, or?
Yeah, so the goal is that sort of this rehousing case management and that financial support will end at 12 months, but part of the work of what Away Home for Tulsa does is like Medicaid enrollment, and if someone needs mental health, behavioral health, substance abuse, physical health care services, that is already ongoing. So we have great partnerships. We're very lucky that we have organizations like Family and Children's, GRAND, other CCBHCs that can do Medicaid enrollment at the beginning or even through street outreach. And so that's sort of a joint project that those services are eligible for as long as people need that, and that can go beyond just this really rehousing focus. And so we do typically see that a lot of folks, once they have the stability of being back in housing, that engaging with mental health, substance abuse, even like, again, financial empowerment, most folks do stay with those programs. And then part of this is having a system where if those individuals fall into crisis again, and they're gonna fall back into homelessness, that we have a homeless response system that has services that can help them. You know, they can call the day center, they can call youth services, and there will be somebody there who can help.
And that's before they fall back into that state.
Yeah, one of our goals is that the people who are rehoused do not then return to homelessness for this specific program.
I mean, a key piece is sustainable housing.
Okay.
And that's
And
kind of
supportive housing.
that individualized plan, that's the focus from the get, is how do we get them to a place, not just the 12 months, but that they're
Right.
connected, supported, so that they
They're
can
stable,
maintain it.
there's
Yeah.
a stable state,
Yeah.
so I appreciate that. That's it, that's all I had, thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thinking about the scenario you shared, Counselor, so there are resources at the hub that would help those individuals who are like slipping. I think also we have started looking at water bills again in arrears as an early warning sign so that we can also try to connect people to services. But Counselor Bellis and I and others are also working on some eviction mitigation, which would, when you lose your utilities, the next step is eviction. So I'm glad that you surfaced that, and that's definitely another piece of the path to home that we, from a policy
Yeah,
standpoint,
and
have been talking
I had brought
about.
up the utility piece.
Yeah.
Especially without the
That
walk
some,
and lie.
that it-
Yeah.
I think the TMUA is entertaining, kind of some of the thing, the same program that I think PSO has, helping their neighbors.
Exactly.
Like rounding up their utility bill. So hopefully we're approaching that, not from a passive, but an aggressive attempt to help our neighbors.
Right, like,
So-
I think all of us agree, like, keeping people from falling in
Yep.
to the bottom is less traumatic and less expensive to help mitigate.
Yeah, I think the rise in seniors is what's
Yeah.
alarming to me.
Next on the list, I have Counselor Bellis, then myself, then we'll go back to Dutton and Archie, and then if others wanna jump in.
Yeah, I'm personally excited about this step because it's doubling down on already successful solutions that we already have people who like the service providers who are expert in doing this that are able to scale. I know that was a question I initially had when I, first heard that we were looking at kind of shifting the focus of these dollars was, okay, is this something providers are ready to scale? And the answer that I've been hearing is like, absolutely, we know what we're doing. So to me, I'm just voicing to my colleagues, like that's something I have a lot of faith in, is that the experts who've been doing this direct service are like, we already do this, we know what this looks like, we know who the community we serve, like we know who those people are, so we're ready to go, we just need the investment and support. So I think that's really exciting. Just two quick like clarifying questions, and then like one or two more just like sentiments. But one is, you mentioned, right, okay, there's about 300 units that we're seeking. Do we need all of those to be available concurrently for this to be successful?
No,
No,
uh-uh.
okay.
We're looking at this over a 9-month span
Okay.
of time. A 9-month span of time to house 300
Right.
people, but providing them services for up to 12 months
So,
of
and
time.
how many units have we already identified about?
We haven't even,
Okay.
I know that Housing Solutions is very much on top of that. There are units, there are 300 units available today. If we were able to say 300 people are moving into scattered site units, those are available today. But it will take time to move folks in.
I do know, this is a conversation I'd had with, I'm looking at, Julie at the YWCA, that a challenge can be when someone's been really, right, immersed in community and culture in one space, and then you're moving them into, for instance, a scattered site, that then they're disconnected from that community or miss that culture that they've been a part of in whatever setting that they've been kind of living in. I was just curious from the service providers, how it looks like to support people in that, because I know that could be a real challenge when we're talking about scattered, right? I know sometimes in the past we've looked at things like getting folks into more concentrated areas, or like a hotel that's been renovated, or this or that. Granted, I'm also excited that we're looking at existing units, because obviously we all know how long it takes to build something new, let alone like zone or permit, and we know there's other upstream challenges there. But I'm just curious, how do you all mitigate that challenge? Because it is, if we're talking about scattered sites, which I think that's great that there's existing places, and we can, you know, it's not like we're talking about anywhere super far. Tulsa doesn't have long commute times per se in like the MSA. But what does that look like for you all if people are, especially, and also for your service provider, like for social workers to get to all those different sites as well and help support? I'm just curious about feasibility of all of that.
Sure. I think part of the model is where possible, you're working alongside that individual to find a unit that's maybe in the area that they are used to living. So that's not always entirely possible, but that's the goal, is to kind of start there and try to, you know, find a unit that's in a community that they're familiar with. But also that's part of that individualized needs plan, is identifying who is your natural support system, what is community for you, and how can we ensure that we're putting things in place to maintain that community. Another big part of it is, for some, they don't have something identified as community, and that is a key piece of sustainability and maintaining housing is an identified community. So that's almost always a part of that initial needs plan, is community and connection. As far as the caseworkers and getting to all the locations, you know, I think any housing case manager right now will tell you, like, summer is so hot because you're out going to all the places, but that's the gig, you know, and that's part of the job, and that's kind of built into, you know, costs of doing the work and you know, making sure that they have transportation and mileage or whatever to get to all those locations, and meeting individuals where they are to make sure that they're able to access those services is a big part of the work. So.
And then, out of curiosity, do we have one of those kind of, this is something we discussed last week to my other council colleagues, like something around, hey, when we invest upstream in this type of solution, it, like for every dollar we put in, it saves X amount of like dollars down the line, because right, we know like homelessness and our housing crisis is an expensive issue for private business owners, for the city, for public safety officers. I just wasn't sure if we have that kind of, for every dollar in, it saves you this much, like to the taxpayer.
We don't, we're working on
Okay.
that, gathering especially specific dollars to the city. I mean, we know, and this goes back to an assessment that was done in 2021, the cost for the city to book someone and for a person to spend one night in jail, in a municipal jail, is over $600. That's 4-year-old data, so we know like that's very expensive. Our average cost, and it depends on shelter and services, can be about $88 a night for a bed. So when we look at average cost to house somebody for 12 months versus cost of shelter, cost of, if there's justice involvement, especially for minor offenses like trespassing or, you know, setting up an abode, and then not to mention public sanitation costs, because people don't have a space to clean up after themselves, express good hygiene. This cost savings are significant. So I would love to work with different city finance to look at some of that, but we know just when we look at justice involvement and like emergency shelter bed, getting people housed and sustainable is a much more cost-effective option. And then, of course, the benefits to the economy of having people re-enter the workforce, children being able to regularly go to school, and how we see positive impact on educational attainment. There's a lot of downstream impact.
I just want to voice to my council colleagues related to this as a solution, because I know, like, I think this is something we can actually concretely deliver on because there's already that legacy of work. And it's something where we can build up good community will to actually get, future investment from like public-private sector, et cetera, by, it's like us investing in something that we know can be successful and make a meaningful difference pretty tangibly. I've just been thinking a lot about, my career's been working in public education and public health, and you see a lot of both over-admiring a problem and then not taking a next step, or looking for that next shiny solution when there's already something that works that's sitting there and you're don't have the attention span to just double down on something successful. So I just hope we can all like double down on something successful together. Of course, I'd hope we can figure out a cadence of kind of getting that, hey, this is what this looks like. I know you all may have to make pivots and adjustments if, to the service provider community, acknowledging that I don't know what % of these dollars it looks like for case managers versus direct like payments for rent, or I think that's like a formula that I'd be really curious about it, or I'm sure we all are, to better understand. So I don't know if we can make sure there's like a cadence of once the contracts are in place, a certain kind of reporting back, both of literal people served, but also of that kind of % of like this % of dollars ended up hiring this many people to provide the case management versus this % of the dollars helped with arrears versus helped with rental assistance payments, or I think that would be really great.
And Counselor, cities like Dallas and Houston are doing this sort of work right now, and seeing great success of rehousing folks with an individualized plan.
I have some questions. Number one, previously allocated opioid housing assistance, where was it previously allocated? I understand that where the ARPA dollars were.
Residential care.
The residential care center?
To the residential care center, okay. So I just wanna say something about those 59 units, cause I was in the town hall meeting where we promised the neighbors that the wraparound services portion of that was a big component. And so I really do wanna level set that yes, 59 affordable units will be there, but they will not have the transportation, the casework, and all those things that we were talking to the residents about during the zoning. And Councilor Hall Harper couldn't be here, but she and I were in that meeting along with Sarah Davis, Travis Holes, Daniel was obviously there, and so yes, there'll be affordable units, but it's pretty isolated. There's not a lot of services, there's not a lot of public transportation, there's not a grocery store, and so I just really wanna like name that. Going back to what Councilor Archer was talking about. These are one-time funds, so it's kind of a pilot program to see how it goes. Is there any plans now of like how we reinfuse the dollars, or we're not there yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
These are one-time dollars, and we hope that as we get going that we'll have additional dollars to be able to continue housing more folks. Counselor, if you, just to the residential care center and the support services as it moves forward, just regular housing. Actually, I've been engaging Away Home for Tulsa and the property owner on what it would look like to continue on in a different fashion and being able to have some support services for whomever may move into their center.
That's new information, thank you. The financial literacy piece, so we're talking about 300 households. Are these budgeted for in the current FEC budget? Because we had those folks in front of us not too long ago during the budget talks about what their capacities were. Or is the financial literacy piece not through the FEC for these clients?
They're through Away Home for Tulsa Partners,
Okay.
and it could potentially even be through that, but right now we're looking at Away Home for Tulsa Partners.
Okay. Let's talk about the inventory. It's a surprise to me. I'm probably one of the people at this table that has been really focused on housing and homelessness, at least since 2018. More than most that sit up here, I dare say. And I've been told for years that we're at 97% capacity, we don't have enough units, so it's very surprising me to hear that right now we have 300 units open and ready as long as we get first, last, and deposit. What has changed?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. And 300 units like today, that would be pretty hard to find. 300 units over 9 months, I think is more
Okay.
doable. We have seen, and quite frankly, I think this might be short-term, and so we may have a limited window of opportunity here, but with higher interest rates, economic uncertainty, that occupancy rates have slightly declined in Tulsa over the last year. Now, the housing market can shift, right? Interest rates could drop, that could open up a lot more people who are going from living with roommates to living on their own, or people were buying homes. But we have seen a slight softening in occupancy rates over the last couple of months. The challenge that still remains is that in order to rent an apartment right now, the average effective rent across the Tulsa metro area the cost has increased by 40% since the end of 2018. So to rent an apartment, just an average apartment in Tulsa, was a little over $700 at the end of 2018. Now it's over $1,000, and between $1,030 and $1,040 a month. And just, we haven't seen people's income. So the need for additional units and additional affordable units is still incredibly dire. But when we're talking about finding units for 300 people over a 9-month period, it's just not the same that it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we're talking about like a smidgen of space in a very large market. In terms of addressing our broader affordability challenges, there's still significant need there.
Thank you. The last two questions center on childcare and pet-friendly placements, because we know those are barriers. You talked about the scenario with the family, and they need childcare. We're in a childcare desert, and so what does that look like? Do we have a Way Home for Tulsa partners, or somebody that's coming on with more childcare availability?
So that's something that we would work with the Way Home for Tulsa. But when talk about other resources out there, have to look beyond. And it's gonna really depend on what exactly childcare means to that family.
Okay. And then for pet-friendly units?
Yeah.
Gotta find them. That's it. And we do find them. They are out there. We just have to go and find them and make them work. And again, this is part of where we may not find the ideal or the perfect for an individual. Someone may have to choose between like living in their ideal neighborhood or unit versus like a unit that will work with their pets. It's the decision that we all have to make. But there are some that are available.
And is there anyone in the city or in the nonprofit space that's specifically going out to property owners negotiating these needs? Because I think we had a little bit of that going on, and we were gonna hire like somebody to do that. I don't know that that actually ever happened.
Yeah, so actually, we're exploring what master leasing might look like. I know that there's some organizations like Day Center that are already engaging in master lease agreements, and that's been very successful for other cities. So we're definitely looking at how that would impact this work.
I would say to our colleagues who are looking at how to help appropriate the $75 million, if we know that we need units that have childcare near or in, if we know that there's pet-friendly housing needs, like we should incentivize that with the public dollars that we've already, said that we want to use to grow the inventory. So I would just throw that out there, and maybe, I know Councilor Bellis has kind of taken the lead on the childcare issue, but maybe even our economic development incentives, if there's a company that's coming that wants to have on-site childcare, things like that. I think we should use that because we know the needs are there. My concern has always been in our desire to solve this problem, which I think we're all desperately wanting to do. We sometimes focus on the numbers and not the people, so I'm very glad for these scenarios. I don't know if they were like actual real scenarios or whatever, but I think the more we can humanize who our neighbors are that are going through this, even the ones that are trying to not fall into homelessness, right? We certainly hear from them as constituents. I just hope that we also don't get too rose-colored glasses about the units available. I think there's a lot of one-bedrooms and studios. That's not gonna help a family. And we just need to be real about set realistic expectations. This will be a huge leap forward. I think we hear that. But I also don't think in 12 months we're gonna see necessarily everything that we're planning to do come to fruition, because we're gonna find those barriers. We can't control things beyond our control, like the economy, the market. We're still at a $7.25 minimum wage. There's been cuts to healthcare and things beyond our control. And so as people are contacting us about what policies and procedures and efforts we're making, I hope they're also reaching out to their elected officials at every level that also impact this situation. I have Dutton for a follow-up and Archie for a follow-up. I just wanted to check in with Councilor Bush or Councilor Lakin or Councilor Gilbert that we're not. Okay. Councilor Dutton and Councilor Archie.
I wanted to say thank you, Councilor Bangle, for bringing up the administrative cost question, because that was something I had also thought about, was what that looked like per person, really. And I was also wondering, we're talking about teens to individualize a needs plan, what does that look like? I mean, how many people are we talking to a teen per individual? And what that would incur, that would also play into the administrative cost, and is that sustainable?
Sure.
We'll have to work through all of that sort of stuff as we work through contracts, but what we do know from service providers is that they do this now, this work now, and they have the ability as this ramps up to take additional caseloads.
So I'm wondering if it would be like 3, 4, 5 people per team, per individual.
It would, yeah, I think it would depend on that individualized plan. So like one of the examples I mentioned, he's recovering from opioid use disorder. So that individualized plan would probably include a connection to substance and behavioral health services. So that's someone that would be a part of that team. So it would depend, and that might, we already do that on a current basis of someone will have a housing caseworker that's working on their housing, but the behavioral health services is coming through one of our community partners. Whether or not that needs to be contracted sometimes depends. You know, the employment services, does that need to be a staff person, or could that be a community partner? So that will depend.
Are you speaking more to like caseload size? Like how many individuals one case manager may be serving?
Well, I'm just, in a way, but I mean, I'm just thinking more like, you know, we have our PAC teams here for the
Sure.
mental health, and
Yeah.
so, you know, there's so many people designated to specific individuals based on their needs and whatnot. So I'm just thinking in terms of the actual staffing, do we have enough on site? And I'm also, now that you say that, thinking of the day center, would they utilize their staffing also to continue, say you move somebody out of the day center, would the caseworker that might be there, the case manager, would they follow that individual out, or is that passed on
Well,
to the team?
And like Emily said, I'm sure that'll be outlined in
Right, okay.
contracting, but best
Yeah.
practices around that
Okay.
and providers knowing how to kind of weight those
Sure.
depending on need.
And then I have one more follow-up on the apartment complexes. Are we vetting the owners of these complexes, or vetting any kind of historical data indicating eviction rates? And so that we don't have any repeats of
Violations.
of Vista, Shadow.
I didn't see
And that's concerning to me, those sort of violations, and I mean, I think this is great. I just would hate for the money to go towards something that ends up putting out more people
Sure.
than people that were placed.
I'm gonna jump in there. When Counselor Bingle was asking kind of about what resources before people fall into homelessness, the mayor's going to be launching soon this eviction mitigation council. And part of that work is bringing landlords to the table, as well as part of this work is, and I believe that Housing Solutions already has a navigation team that is working very closely with landlords. So you're incentivizing landlords who are the ones that you want to, that are partners in the work, want to be partners in the work, incentivizing them to be at the table and be a part of providing housing units.
I'll stay in touch with you and email to follow up on any further questions I might have. That way we won't take up any more time.
It's okay, I mean, this is the time we have. So, Counselor Archie, I do want to say, if we approve these dollars, obviously there'll be an RFP process. I think there's some counselors who have less experience or just have not had to go through that. So I think if we need to revisit the criteria, we can. And I also did want to say, we don't vote on this. Second reading is the 20th. There's no emergency clause. So we don't meet next week, but if any of you get like a plethora of questions, we could always put it back on for discussion on the 20th on either UED or Public Works. So I'm going to go to Archie, and then I think we need to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So the initiative's goal is 150 that are currently on the street into shelters, 200 that are in shelters into solid housing. So if the goal is 150, do you go after twice that many or three? I mean, of course, 100% of the folks that we go after are not gonna, stay with us. Or is it that you are trying to identify the top, who in our system that we made contact with is the most likely to succeed? Let's focus our energy on those folks and try to shepherd them through the process, understanding that we may have a 20 or 30%, attrition rate. How are you all kind of looking at that?
So just what we're looking at the goals, that's why there's a range of between 150 to 200 folks out of the shelter, and 100 to 150 off of the street straight into housing. And what there will be characteristics of who will be able to be, who will be able to be rehoused. And what that does then is for those that are more chronically homeless that need longer-term supports, there will be shelter space that will open up, and our providers can provide more support, intentional support, and get those folks off of the street and into shelter or whatever the next step might be on to a path to permanent housing. There are certain, at the end of the day, folks have to be able to maintain rent within a 12-month period. And so that's going to be a key piece of who is going to be ready to move.
And then finally, we don't have to discuss it now, but I'm curious what our police and fire and IMSA, maybe some of their feedback as they review the initiative as well. We don't have to talk about it now, but they're on the front lines as well, dealing with these challenges. So definitely want to collaborate more with our heroes.
They are part of the team, and actually Chief Wilmerhauser is in many conversations about how do we bring public safety as well as Commissioner Roberts
And they're all
into
on
this
a
work.
wheel for Tulsa too. I think we have to move on from here. Obviously, a lot of interest in the room and at the table. Not every colleague here has had the time to do the deep dive, so I would encourage you that have questions, get your aides to, set up some meetings. If we need to put it back on the agenda, just make sure that you do the request to Lori and Sarah by the 14th, noon on the 14th, and then we can put it back on if we need to. The vote will be on the 20th. That will be second reading, and we will take public comment. And obviously, you can always contact us by email or however you reach out to your counselor. Thank you to Emily and to Jared and to the partners and everyone here. I did just want to emphasize something that Counselor Bella said. The 150 to 200 is additive to what all these folks are doing every day right now. And it's to get us closer to getting these 1,500 individuals moved through. And as Emily said, there probably always will be a circumstance that causes someone to slip through, but once we get every part of the continuum moving better, it's, rare, brief, and non-recurring. So that is the goal, and I know you all have been asking for a long time for us to kind of step on the gas a little bit, so I'm glad that we have put our heads together to look at the dollars we do have for today and go. I'm a little bit questioning why we don't have the emergency clause, but
That was gonna actually be my question.
Budget amendments don't need emergency clauses,
To go
they
into
go
effect
into
sooner.
effect
Okay.
as soon as the mayor signs it, so.
okay, thank you for that. All right, that's items number 4 and 5. Thank you. We're gonna go to item 6, still remembering that 3 is hanging out, and I don't know if TMAPC has moved on. Sarah, are we good with the TMAPC?
Yeah, I think they still are not
Okay.
up here, so yes, go on to
All right,
Jared's
we're
next
on item 6, ordinance amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget to make supplemental appropriations of $223,546.75, recognized from revenues received through the Convention and Visitors Fund for managed entities. Jared.
Ma'am, equally exciting topics. This is tourism and marketing. This is the Convention Visitors Fund. This is FY25 lodging taxes performed greater than our initial estimate. As part of their FY25 contract, the provider is permitted to submit a payment or a proposal to spend that money on continued marketing and promotional things, and so we're just going forward to appropriate those over collections of FY25 to put in place for them to add to the contract.
Any questions or comments on this one? Okay, thank you. Item number 7 is a resolution authorizing payment of $9,500 to Max Holman plaintiff from the sinking fund as a payment of a judgment and attorney fee award in case number CJ 2025-3293. Max Holman, v. City of Tulsa et al. This does carry the emergency clause. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Chad Becker from Treasury, here as always to provide assurance that there's a sufficient cash balance in the sinking fund to pay this judgment ahead of the levy placement on the property tax rolls.
He's trying to cheat.
I
was making sure the fly wasn't on this piece of paper. I thought I saw something buzzing around.
No, it's just a test of your eyesight. What do you think it says?
Yeah, there were too many floaters in my
Did we interrupt you, Mr. Becker?
The judgment's been approved by the court and the mayor, and with council's approval, finance will issue payment to the claimant and forward all the necessary paperwork to the county to levy repayment over a 3-year period. And not a lot of fluctuation since last week I was here. Still 82.2 million in the
I
sinking
saw
fund.
2 twos, but I couldn't make out the 8.
Work on your writing, work on your writing, Chad.
Yeah, can you write it a little bit bigger and my direction next time?
It's also
Notice Chad
published
doesn't
on the
sit
City
on
of
the
Tulsa
meeting
website, as are all of the payments out of the sinking fund for anyone who wants to know.
But it's fun to guess.
Would you like to give us a little background on this?
Sure. Lawson Vaughn from the City Legal Department. This is for damage to the basement of a home that was caused by a sinkhole that came from a failed storm line. And there was, I think this is the last one of, 4 properties that were damaged by the sinkhole. And this one also had a gas leak, some radon gas that was leaking in the basement. And so the total is for to repair the damage to the basement.
Okay, any questions or, yes, Councilor Bush?
Which, can you tell me, is this part of the Perryman ditch, Joe Creek? Which area was this?
This is about 14th and South Elwood.
Thank you.
That's your district, right?
No, 14th, no,
Is that you, Counselor?
It might be.
Okay. I'm surprised that we don't know where a
Yeah,
sinkhole
that's-
went under for, but.
Never mind, yeah, that's me.
Okay, all right, maybe it was a long time ago, I don't know when this happened. Okay, item number 8 is a resolution authorizing payment of $501,007.46 to Greta J. Hurt and Julie D. Lynn, plaintiffs, and Barnes Law PLLC, attorneys at law, from the sinking fund as a payment of a judgment and attorney fee award in case number 22 CV 337, Greta J. Hurt and Julie D. Lynn v. City of Tulsa et al. This does carry the emergency clause. We obviously have the funds.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, so this one comes from a promotional process in 2021 for two assistant chief positions. We had 2 females and 2 males that were going through the process. And because there were only 4 candidates for 2 spots, it was decided to not use an outside assessor. That would have been a cost of about $30,000 and would have added about 30 to 60 days to the process. And so they wanted to go ahead and get someone, and it would have not even reduced the number of candidates. It would have just ranked the candidates, but the chief still would have been able to pick from any of the 4. And so it was decided that they would not do the outside assessment, that the chief assembled internal interview panel. They did an interview, a motion for summary judgment, and all of the claims were kicked out except for the gender discrimination claim. And we were ordered to go to a settlement conference, and we ended up reaching a settlement of $500,000, which these cases bring with them exposure for attorney fees. Prevailing party gets attorney fees, so that was a big portion of it.
Any questions or comments? Counselor Gilbert?
Sure.
Is this each or altogether?
Altogether.
Okay.
My question is, and I ask this on nearly every settlement that comes before us, even though I know we're just voting on, do we have dollars to allocate? Are there policy changes that are coming along with the lesson learned on $500,000 payout?
Yes, I think that probably the chief will be a lot more reluctant to not use an outside assessment in the future.
Okay. As I understand it, one of these folks is retired and the other is still on, so.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions on these two? Item number 9 is a resolution approving certain amendments to the investment policy for the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma for the investment of certain funds of the city in local government investment pools authorized under Title 74 of the Oklahoma statutes and clarification of certain matters related to modernizing trading communications. Oh, you're still here?
I'm
I
here.
missed it.
I'm putting on a different hat and still in Treasury, but yes, this is my item. So just a little background on the city's investment policy. We first, as a city, adopted a formalized policy for the investment of pooled funds in March of 2002. And just at a high level, the policy overall outlines the management of all the invested funds of the city in accordance with the charter of the city and state law. It delegates authority of the investment program to officers within the finance department, such as the finance director, Christy, myself, and others that work with me in Treasury. It identifies the scope of the funds, the entities covered by the policy, provides for the kinds and limits of authorized investments, and then specifies various reporting, review, accounting, and auditing standards relative to the overall investment program of the city. As a group in Treasury, we review the investment policy annually, but since 2002, when the policy was first created, we've only actually made we've come to council for 2 revisions to the policy, last in February of 2017, and then prior to that in May of 2010. And generally, anytime we come to council to adopt policy changes, investment policy changes, something has changed at the state level, and we're amending the policy to stay in line with state statute. And that's what I'm here today to ask council. Back at the end of 2024, Oklahoma state statutes were updated to add language allowing for municipalities to participate in local government investment pools, or what we refer to as LGIPs. LGIPs, they're a pooled investment fund that operates much like a money market fund. We have money market funds in the policy approved currently, but rather being managed by a group like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, these LGIPs exist for the exclusive benefit of the governments within the entity's jurisdiction. So local government investment pools would just be Oklahoma entities participating. They combine the cash of the participating jurisdictions, invest the cash in securities that are allowed under the state laws, and by pooling the funds, governments benefit from the economies of scale, full-time professional portfolio management, diversification, and liquidity. So with the changes to state statute, we would like to take this opportunity to amend the city's investment policy and allow for participation in these LGIPs. It'll offer some diversity to the current portfolio, an alternative to liquidity and yield, since they operate like money markets. Generally, if we can place funds in the morning and pull it out in the afternoon if we need to, and they generally have a pretty good rate of return, or comparable at least to the money market funds that we're already participating in through policy. And most importantly, our policy really resides on 3 pillars: security, liquidity, and yield. And anything that these local government investment pools are comprised of conform to state law and city policy, all government-backed securities. So we're very risk averse, and this conforms to that level of security that we look for in any investment that we participate in. That's what we're here to ask for today, is to what we're discussing today, what we'll ask for in 2 weeks is for council to approve the resolution to amend the policy to allow for this new investment type. And as we were looking through the policy, we thought there'd be a good opportunity to do some housekeeping and modernization of one section that had to do with how we solicit trades. Did not include any kind of modernized communication methods beyond phone. So we've updated some of the language to essentially future-proof the policy. So if there are any electronic communication methods that come forth, aside from email in the future, that might be acceptable within the investment industry for communication, we've rewritten the language so that we don't have to come back anytime there's new communication methods and update accordingly. So, any questions?
Any questions? I'm looking at Counselor Lee.
No, I read it.
Anyone we're gonna have questions, I think it would be you.
No, I like it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. I'm seeing stars a little bit, but.
Yeah, I know. It's a group photo up
I
here.
think we're on.
Sleep with this lecture.
Thank you.
It's a lullaby.
I think we're now back on item number 3, now that Ms. Miller has been released from the TMAPC. This is a rezoning application Z-7820 from RS3 to IL for property located west of the southwest corner of East Newton Street and North New Haven Avenue, requested by Hemfo Legacy LLC, property owner Hemfo Legacy LLC. This is in District 3. The TMAPC voted 6-1 to recommend denial of the IL zoning. Okay.
All right, good afternoon. Thanks for giving me some more time.
Of course.
So this is an application for rezoning. You can tell by the zoning map, this is a lot of industrial zoning to the north of Newton. The south is pretty residential. This was a, what was the exact request? This is a request from RS3 to IL to permit outdoor storage. This exists today, and that's how the application came about, is that they were cited and they wanted to come in and try to rezone the property. So you can tell it already exists on the property. There you go. You can see that it's there. It's on the east side of the Sequoia Neighborhood Park. Another component, if I don't tell you this now, I'll forget. Another component is when it was first submitted, a comp plan amendment, because of currently, or the land use designation is for neighborhood. And so they submitted a concurrent land use map application that was denied by the planning commission. Of course, the zoning application was denied, recommended for denial. They appealed the zoning application. The comprehensive plan amendment application can't be appealed to council. That's not something that the planning commission has the greater authority on those. So that remains a neighborhood on that site. It's a 2.5 acre site. It's a narrow site. Like I said, it currently exists. To rezone, just some facts just about it. I think it's not more than about 150 foot wide. So even if they ever wanted to build a building, couldn't really do that because you have to have 75 foot setbacks from the building on each side if you have 150, you know what I mean?
Really big building.
1 inch or something. I don't know. So anyway, it's really not buildable so much on IL, for IL zoning. It is pretty restrained, but anyway, that's the quick story on it.
Any questions from Counselor Dutton?
Yeah, I'm concerned simply because the streets are so narrow. There aren't any curbs. I'm not sure about the flood mitigation efforts, and I know, like you said, that they're already using it to store stuff. But with that also comes increased traffic, and they have some pretty good-sized trucks that utilize the city streets. And this is a neighborhood we're trying to revitalize and not.
That's something I wanted to mention too.
Yeah.
This is one of our
Yeah.
NCI pilot program neighborhoods, so they're very active in trying to, improve their neighborhood.
Right, and I don't think that this is an improvement to the neighborhood in industrial light.
I do believe there's some floodplain that runs through this site.
There is, because there's that creek that runs by Sequoia Park.
That's right, yeah.
And so it runs through the entire neighborhood in general.
Mhm.
So I know I was just there Saturday, and it is unsightly, to say the least, in that area where Hemp Hill is. And it's also super, super narrow. And we have children, we have seniors, we have a whole mixed group of people living in that area, and revitalization for that neighborhood just does not go hand in hand for me with an IL zoning.
Well, it's recommended for denial. This is just discussion today. It's on first reading on the 20th, second reading the 27th, so.
Try to get some neighbors.
I just have a
Counselor
quick
Bingham.
question. What are they storing out there right now?
Bodies.
No.
Just kidding. Just
If you're missing one,
Some-
go there.
I don't know what.
Just kidding.
Like in some type of industrial
Kidding.
equipment, or I don't really know what it is.
Rocks, boulders.
Is it like construction equipment and stuff?
Yes, trucks, there is some masonry type products out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a.
You can see that.
Oh, looks like a
So it's
turnaround.
non-conforming use?
Yeah, it looks,
It looks like
well,
you could
it
take an
was-
ATV
yeah,
out there.
yeah. I was just gonna say, it looks like a country
Actually,
road practically.
That would be an ATV where we
You
could
could do
send
some
our,
roads,
some of our violators in the Tulsa parks with their UTVs.
Oh, we just talking about
That's a good
parks.
idea there.
They're just in the streets, period.
I'm just-
So that's just undeveloped anyway.
It's undeveloped,
But
but
it's
it's.
zoned for residential.
It's zoned,
Yeah.
it could be developed with some type of residential.
To match what's on the back.
With the neighborhood, I mean.
Yeah.
So there's no abutting IL around it anywhere?
No, not at all.
We're
In
just trying to
fact,
make it conform, it sounds
it's
like.
pretty clear, there's a lot of industrial in the north of Newton.
Yep.
But really that Newton is sort of a dividing line
Which is
between
closer to
areas.
Pine, so you're gonna have that
Mhm.
development closer to Pine.
Is this also RS3?
It is, it's,
RS3 applies to everything?
it is, it's the
So
park.
that
That's the
doesn't make
Sequoia
sense
Park.
anyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
Big
sense
warehouse on
anyway.
the other side of the street though.
That's, yeah, there's a lot of big warehouses on the other side of the street, between
That
Newton
big-
and.
That big white one.
Right, between Newton and Pine, there's a lot of industrial. This is the first part that really goes south of
Well, we
Pine.
will get to vote on this on the 27th, and we will take comment that day. Obviously, if anyone's listening at home, feel strongly one way or another, contact your city councilor, Councilor Dunn, yes?
The 20th is the public hearing and the vote on the application.
Oh, the vote, oh, yeah, okay. So really, the comment and everything has to come on the 20th, and then the second step is the 27th. So anyone who wants to come and make comments should plan for the 20th.
Yeah, I'll
at 5
notify
o'clock.
the neighborhood for sure.
And Counselor Dutton will reach out to the neighbors, give them
Yeah,
2
no doubt.
weeks. If something changes, let us know. Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. We still have a discussion with the Commissioner of Public Safety, this is item number 10, regarding updates on, and results on, and statistics from downtown curfew enforcement. Counselor Dutton had requested this, and we have Commissioner Roberts. And do you want to bring? Okay. Come on down, thank you for waiting.
I'm helping Carrie with a little emergency.
Oh, okay.
Needs some help right now, so.
Oh.
Do you want me to go? Sorry, just,
No.
okay.
No.
I was just checking.
Do you need our help though?
He'll be texting a few people real
What do
quick.
you need to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sorry, I just pester you and text.
Welcome to our table.
Thank you.
Remind us how long it's been since this has been in place. It's July, went into place June.
A little over a month.
21st, I believe.
Oh, it was, I know what date it was.
It's your due
It
date.
coincided, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It was
Your
the
birthday.
it was the 8th, it was, happened, let's see, the week after the 19th, so,
Yeah,
the following, yeah.
I wanna say the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just over a month. 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Yeah.
6 or 7 weeks, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I sent some stats last week. Those were cumulative as of they did not include this past weekend. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of an update, I guess, with this past weekend's stats. So I will just speak very generally and then have questions. From an operational perspective, we have seen this be a success. We talked about crowd disbursement as, a primary function because of the number of folks that were downtown, and that the officers had to deal with that made crowd disbursement at midnight a significant issue. We know that from an operational perspective, we've had increased numbers of officers downtown. Around 8 o'clock, we started identifying groups of individuals that were younger, and gave them notifications like, hey, the new curfew's 9 o'clock, we're gonna move you along. So plenty of warnings, plenty of suggestions to move.
We know the first couple weekends, we got, our numbers were down. Rain the first weekend, second weekend was the 4th of July, the holiday weekend. So that made it, easier, right? But overall, much more manageable crowds, much less incidents to have to respond to. So success from downtown, and I know that there was a question about number of curfew tickets being written and how we measure that. I can say that 10 were written. I think 9 is the number on there. We wrote one over the weekend, so 10 were written to juveniles out past curfew. 5 of those were after midnight, so would have been written despite the change in curfew. And they were actually contacted earlier at a party, moved downtown as a second location later in the night. So that's kind of where we stand. There's statistics regarding all the different crimes downtown. They all indicate that this has been a success so far. Of course, it's very short term that we're measuring it. And I will just add the crimes that are written here, all the statistics on here, are not time specific. Curfew, of course, is a time specific that we can directly relate to an evening or a nighttime event, but the crimes that are up here are compiled for all of downtown and do have some daytime incidents involved in them. But everything shows to be down, so.
And this is inclusive of minors and adults, except for curfew.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, just so everyone knows what the numbers are. Okay, are we ready for conversation? Okay.
I'm ready for questions.
I have Counselor Bellis, then Dotton, and I didn't see any other hands.
Are we tracking demographics of the youth cited? Is that something you can share with us?
Yes.
I don't have that specifically. I don't know if you brought it, but we can grab that really easily.
I do. So we've been drilling down into a whole lot of the statistics. We actually, and it wasn't until just late yesterday or even early today that we think the numbers of curfew citations are even actually lower. We think we, because of everybody reporting, we think we may have double counted a few of those. So we've been able to track at least 5 to the downtown area that at least the task force wrote. And of those 5, you're talking about a few 16-year-olds, a 17-year-old, a 13-year-old, all again past midnight, 1 o'clock, way past when a 13-year-old, boys and girls being downtown. All 5 of the citations we've been able to locate and put eyes on right now are black females and black males. And for instance, one, I don't think it was the 13-year-old. I think it was a just turned 16-year-old female who was not just down past curfew at closer to midnight, 1 o'clock, was also drunk, was high. So the best part is that we were able to more easily identify those youth that needed to be addressed versus youth that had just come downtown and because they're bored. And so it is concerning to still see that we've got it's still concerning that we have youth downtown at that time of day dealing with that are drunk and high. Some have prior gun arrests, so still dealing with that.
And what does it look like? Because I know this was one of my concerns, and I was out when we voted on this, though I do understand the urgency and just general public safety needs. What does it look like? Because one of the things we had discussed when we were forming the initial policy proposal was ensuring there's that pipeline of connection into things like youth services, et cetera. How is that handoff going? Or how? I'm just curious how that's operating.
Yeah, we worked with youth services to roll out the curfew,
Right.
and so they were downtown for at least 3 or 4 weekends at the front end, really until we didn't see kids downtown very much at all. And so I think they're still working on some of the back end programming on that, but we're working hand in hand to try to make sure that those kids who who were looking for a place to go do have that place to go.
I mean, for the ones that were actually cited, which of course it is, like, I acknowledge this, we don't have longitudinal trends here yet, but the fact that all of them were of one, like, racial demographic is, like, I think that was a lot of people's concerns going into this policy, is like who ends up most directly, you know, just more youth in our justice system in contact with police can also be a risk, despite, you know, all of our best hopes. Like, that's just never something you actually want to be, you all don't want to be sitting there citing or arresting youth, obviously, but it definitely is, like, the demographic trend that you just shared is really concerning. And we know, like, I think a lot of us know, or people who've worked in education or any social space know, that entering the justice system can create just these kind of perpetuating, evolving issues, especially for youth or families that have a lack of access to resources. So I'm just wanting to check on if we have some kind of word handoff in place where, okay, these youth have now been cited, they need to go to court, right? Like, is there someone there to, you know, try to catch them, like, before they fall through more cracks?
Yeah, I think that's probably a better question for the back end of the criminal
Okay.
justice system, not
Yeah.
the police.
Right.
So municipal court and
Right.
juvenile bureau and everything. The only thing I would also add to you is it's concerning for us also of the demographic and where the social determinants of health failed, because we're the downstream effect of where that failed. And so always constantly working with the partners in the community, which is again why I also, and kind of what I talked to you about the measure of success, if we'd written 400, man, would we have, this would have been a complete and total disaster and failure. I think what it really does speak to is that we just had a lot of kids that were bored and thought, okay, well, we can go down here. But when told, hey, you can no longer legally be down here, they went, okay, yeah, we don't really actually want to cause problems. We're just trying to find something to do. And I think that's what we saw the result of, is just the 5 that still lingered. And you're always going to have some pieces of that. But that's where, again, us working on the front end of anything we do like this that's an enforcement is doing a very high piece of education and diversion on the front end before it even gets to an
So all
enforcement
the ones
piece.
cited had been previously warned? Is that, or was it just people who were youth that were there after certain?
I know at least 4 of the 6 had been
Okay.
previously warned. And it was kind of the situation where they were like, hey, you need to leave, and they were like, yeah, sure. Then they'd walk around the block or go and get their car and come and loop back, and so it was like, all right, well, you're still here, so we're gonna write
Council
citations.
Bellis, I'm pretty confident that in 6 weeks, none of those juvenile curfews have been adjudicated, so we don't have those.
We don't know,
Just
yeah.
just the timeline to work through that process on the
Just
back
to
end.
clarify too, were all the citations written after midnight, which is what the citywide curfew is?
No, it sounded just like one
No.
of them. It sounded like-
So I believe the 5 I'm talking about
Okay.
is specific to post midnight. The others that may have still, and we're still
Oh,
tracking.
of the 10.
But the 5 that we drilled down into, were definitely post that. But again, the measure of success, hands down, I'll let Major Oniswords talk to this about his operational observations and those of his boots on the ground folks, is, man, have we been able to safely manage downtown a whole lot better, because it's not just, and I'm going to let him go into that, but think about it this way too, and I'll go from an allergy restaurant-based thing. So if me and 4 friends want to go out to eat, and somebody suggests a place that a whole lot of peanut stuff is going to be in, I'm going to go, dude, we can't go there. And they're going to go, okay, cool, where do we want to go? Okay, well, we're going to go over here. Well, the same goes for a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old. They don't only have 16 and 17-year-old friends, they have 18-year-old friends, they have 19-year-old friends. And when it's, hey, I can't go downtown. Oh, cool, okay, well, let's go somewhere else. And those 18 and 19-year-olds don't need to be downtown in a bar district either. And so that has also, I believe, helped, but I'll leave you.
I think you used that example because I invited you to Texas Roadhouse one time. And you were like,
I would have
yeah,
died.
I died if I wasn't there.
It does have a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
Forgot about the peanut allergy for one night. Anyway, yeah, operationally, what we saw was this was a huge help to our officers that were downtown already. We saw that the hundreds and literally hundreds of teens that we had seen downtown for the weeks leading up to the summer were not there the rest of the summer. And we did have aggressive enforcement on the front end of contacting people and saying, hey, you have an hour to vacate downtown. And when I say aggressive, we really just intentionally contacted youths to say, hey, you got an hour to get down, get out of here. And then around 9 o'clock, hey, it's 9 o'clock, curfew's in place, it's time to leave. And the vast majority of them either left or were already with a parent or were at a ticketed event, and so they already had a reason to be downtown. What it allowed us to do was, now that we didn't have the 400 or 500 kids downtown kind of crowding the area, crowding the streets, the officers were able to get out there a little bit more and see, okay, we do have 2 or 3 young people who are out here, go and try to contact them, see what's going on, and see if that's something that we can either help with, help to get them out of there, or to see if there's something nefarious happening and we'd have to take other enforcement action. But that really helped our officers maintain a safe downtown experience for those who are downtown.
And we understand the bars are still busy, entertainment, they're still seeing patrons, there are still lines out the door, they're still safely at capacity. We have partnered with the fire marshals to ensure that that's the case. So it has not detracted from the entertainment value, the sales tax revenue, bars and businesses doing a good business.
Yeah, and we've kind of, I guess to lack of a better word, we've been on a tour for the curfew ordinance over the past couple months, and talking with business groups, talking with business owners, and we have not heard anyone tell us that they've lost business over this. And so that is a good sign for us that this is safely helping people find other safe things to do on the weekend, and also not affecting businesses downtown from what we can tell.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I still had, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just.
Got a line.
Just as one additional inquiry, I know one of the concerns that got surfaced was if we're pushing youth out of this core area and they're scattering, where are they going, and is it causing increases in incidences or concerning situations outside of downtown? Especially acknowledging, like, I know it's been brought up on some of the, like, lack of third spaces for them to just be able to hang out for free, or, Village Inn's not always open 24 hours. I'm just curious if that's anything you all have assessed, or if you've seen, okay, when we get them out, then there's an issue over here in this nearby neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So, dispersing is an aspect of an effective piece of crime reduction and everything like that, but you still have some pieces of it, right? And so we have seen different, so majority of youth and young adults would obviously go find something else that's not a problem, but there's still going to be some that congregate and do that. I can't remember if I talked about it when I was here last time, but I don't know if you saw it. We put out a significant education piece of Airbnbs. And that's been helpful. We've actually had people call in about, hey, I think there's a way out of control Airbnb going on, and because we're not managing a crazy out of control downtown scene, we're able to hop on those and respond and immediately eliminate a lot of those parties that are illegal in the city of Tulsa in regards to Airbnb parties and following the ordinances, get in on the front end. There's still some danger surrounding some of those Airbnbs. We've still recovered numerous guns from some of those, but again, the shootings have dropped because we're able to see it. We're able to get in on the front end of it. Citizens have been great about calling on it, and that's helped us. So we've been able to actually redeploy some officers to go take care of that because we're not just inundated with downtown.
Okay, Counselor Dutton and Counselor Archie.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing the data. I love data, so it's really great. So my question has to actually have multi. Along with the demographics we have, they were 5 females, correct?
I'm sorry?
No, I think
No, they were
2 males.
males and females.
Males
Yes.
and females. And it was the female that was drunk.
Yes, I'm trying to remember all that. I want to say the female was drunk and high.
Okay, so the fact that she got alcohol, I think, is concerning. More, I mean, that she's a juvenile, but that she got alcohol Is it because she was served downtown? Did somebody over 21 purchase it and give it to her?
I'd be willing to based off of how we found her with it, it's probably somebody had it in a car, was able to pour it into a cup and then walk around with a unsuspecting cup.
Okay, so it could have been an older.
It could have been. We didn't have any, and we've worked with the Alcohol Bureau of Law Enforcement with Oklahoma to address any of those bar issues of serving underage, and I don't think we've.
Yeah, we haven't run into any significant issues with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on data from Mabel for that as well, because, you know, that's data pearl here. So, I was looking at those statistics, and the fact that the IDL reported cases total was 1,190, and then it looks like there was an increase, and out of that, that's 10, right? 10 possible juveniles out of that 1,190, correct? Okay.
6 months.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but still, I'm looking at the totals too. I mean, even say, May was higher, of course, lower than July when it was already implemented. So, I'm just trying to do a
It was the end of
comparison.
July when it was implemented.
Into June.
I'm sorry,
June was highest.
I'm sorry, I still don't actually understand what data you're talking about.
The downtown IDL Part 2 crimes.
Okay.
This 1190 is the total of all.
Yeah, but I was looking at also, May was lower than July.
For the
So-
top line miscellaneous
right.
one.
Right, and so it looks to me like adults are still the primary culprits of the crimes downtown.
I don't disagree
Yeah.
with that statement. And what I'm also saying though, and I think back to the commissioner, is this is 24/7
Right,
crime inside the IDL, not
Right.
just evening crime.
right, okay, so that's good information to know as well. Did-
Yes, correct, that it's
Okay.
24-hour coverage.
Right.
This is not specific to a time frame.
Right,
So-
okay,
So, and these will include all kinds of crimes occurring at our high-volume locations of 911 callers in the IDL that are not in the Blue Dome District,
right,
are not, so.
right.
A
yeah.
lot of that has to deal with those
Like even at Home Depot or
locations.
something, yeah.
In numerous
Sure.
housing
Right.
locations, and yes.
Okay, so I'm also looking at the change, the percentage change for citywide, and it was 4.3% up citywide. So does that indicate, that's on the downtown incidents compared citywide? Would that be indicative then of people moving around?
It's, so actually, these change in percentages, we were sitting back here and we caught them, that those aren't correct. So we
Okay.
had them refigured, it's actually down 5.1%.
Oh, okay, so the crime type,
And then
Right,
this just
so
doesn't
where the
match
red
each
arrow
other.
is.
citywide,
The,
yeah.
the Excel
It's too
sheet
short.
pointed at the,
Okay.
formulas.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I was looking at that and I thought, well, that almost indicates that they're moving somewhere else around the
Yeah.
city. So
Yeah,
have you
and it-
noticed that?
I don't think, I don't think we've had the curfew in place long enough to be able to tell if that's creating significant change.
Okay.
But like Chief Oberhauser mentioned, displacement of the groups has allowed us to be more direct and more intentional about keeping those larger groups downtown and also throughout the city safe. So it's a lot easier to handle 5 different groups of 30 kids popping up somewhere than one group of 500 kids popping up.
Yes.
And these are not juvenile specific?
Right.
Right.
Number, okay, yeah, the juvenile specific is.
Right, and that's the big part for me, is that it's not broken down how I would. I
Well,
would be
the
able
next
to-
page.
The next page.
Yeah,
your
I
graph
saw that.
has the juvenile charges
I
on
saw
it.
that. So the juvenile arrests are really pretty minimal,
Mhm.
Yep.
which is a good thing compared
Oh,
to
yeah.
the population of the city, so. All righty, those are my questions. Thanks.
Mr. Archie?
Thank you for this presentation. When does this ordinance sunset?
Mid-October, I
October
believe.
22nd.
Yeah.
And, so is your recommendation, it's been successful, it should sunset? This needs to be a seasonal, curfew? Does it need to expand to?
I know from my standpoint, I don't think we're prepared to offer that to you just yet, but I know, I would imagine we'll be invited back. Yeah.
I think what will be significant is the startup of school and monitoring what late August and September offer us, to really make that suggestion, whether it should be a calendar year. I think my suggestion is it's been effective for the summer. So definitely a summer or a seasonal, and then we'll reevaluate for 12-month period.
Counselor Gilbert?
So to your question, Counselor Archie, Sarah has been trying to put together some statistics for us to present to us in the future, but she wasn't able to get them completed before this meeting, so.
So we had been working on and talking with TPD about, they have their statistics today, and they've been tracking this, and providing the citation number updates. One thing I don't think we're gonna be able to get is, because of confidentiality for juveniles, we may not know the outcomes of those cases, and we shouldn't know the outcomes of those cases.
And
So.
I also understand we may not get the interrelation if there are other like racial demographics over time, where like age
Right.
plus racial demographics, sometimes, like, you know, we may only get so much information, or like, you know, we wouldn't wanna layer that up with zip code, because then you could pinpoint an individual youth at a certain point.
Correct. So some other data points
Right.
though is, the fire marshal's office has also been involved in enforcement, so we'll be reaching out to them. Our deputy mayor is looking at alternatives for youth engagement, actively, and so we'll have more information on that. And then code enforcement in the partnership with, the short-term rentals. So there's a lot of information to come. And then, Downtown Tulsa Partnership has provided preliminary feedback that was positive, from the businesses, in Blue Dome, but also in those other areas you were concerned about, like in the arts district that it may go over into. Seemed positive all around there, but there's also been some downtown public safety surveys that are in progress, or we just got the data back. So we had planned to bring that. I think TPD is coming back at the end of August, and so we had planned to bring that then at the end of August.
Great. I would just add too, we narrowed this not only to sunset, which means we can always renew it, but also narrowed it from 7 days a week to 3. So if there's anything that's popping out to you all that, no, we need Sundays or we need Wednesdays or 7 days, could you provide the data so that we can, if you're gonna make that recommendation, we can see why. Okay, anything else from anyone at the table? Thank you so much for waiting to come to us on item number 10. We'll move on. Thank you for your.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna read 11, 12, and 13 together. Travel authorization for council rules and order of business, an estimated amount of $3,154 for Counselor Archie, Bingle, and Counselor Bush to travel to Salt Lake City, Utah to attend the 2025 Chamber Intercity Visit to be held October 6th through 8th, 2025. This amount covers registration, hotel, airfare, and per diem.
Counselors, this is the Chamber's Inner-City Visit. 3 counselors have requested to attend. Your council rules require that travel be authorized if it exceeds $500, and there are enough travel funds this fiscal year for these 3 counselors to go. This is their first trip this fiscal year.
Any questions or comments? Thank you for being willing to give up your time to travel and take notes for the rest of us that aren't going.
Yes, make sure you share back with us and also with James Alexander.
A full report upon your return.
Don't put that stress on me.
He's going to ask, so you need to be ready.
Yes, that's true. So
Your,
it comes
your
up for.
your council rules also envision a
Yes.
report back.
We'll look forward to your report after October 8th, but thank you for your willingness to go, and we vote on it tonight, so I'm sure there'll be some kind of recusal plan for said vote this evening. Nope, more questions or comments on these, we are adjourned. Would you like to come back?